Hi, and welcome back to Misty Mountain Gaming. I'm the Thedndwannabe. My name is Rob, and vision is a pretty important and, pardon the pun, often overlooked aspect of Dungeons & Dragons. In real life, vision is a pretty important detail. What we can and can't see determines basically everything that we do. And technology has advanced for centuries to enable us to see clearer and farther and in all kinds of various situations. And the same is true in D&D. Just replace technological advancements with magical research. So vision and visibility in D&D should be things that we carefully consider, and make sure that we are properly and realistically role-playing. Besides, a lot of other rules in D&D use the rules for light and obscurity and vision as their basis, so it's important to understand. So, this week, we are going to shine the light on how to properly run obscurity and light in your D&D game, so that you can clearly see how they should be run. I'm done with the puns for now. Are you ready? Let's begin. Okay, we're going to be talking about vision in our next video, but in order to lay the groundwork for that conversation, we need to understand two things clearly: light and obscurity. We're going to deal with obscurity first. Obscurity means, realistically, that there is something between you and the thing that you're looking at. Something that makes seeing that thing more difficult. If an object or area is unobscured, you can see it clearly. But beyond that, there are two levels of obscurity that we need to be concerned with: lightly obscured and heavily obscured. Lightly obscured means that there is an inconvenient, but not prohibitive, amount of visual noise between you and whatever it is you're trying to see. A thin mist, a light fog, murky water, steady rain, or some moderate foliage are all examples of things that might lightly obscure an area from view. You can still see that something is there, maybe even make out some important details, but it's certainly harder. Furthermore, if you didn't know that something was there in the first place, it would be a lot harder to notice. When trying to see into an area that is lightly obscured, you have disadvantage on perception checks that require sight. This also means that your passive perception to incidentally notice something there is reduced by 5. We're going to cover that more in a later video, but for now, just remember that seeing something in a lightly obscured area is hard. By contrast, when an area is heavily obscured, it is impossible to see things in that area. You may be able to hear something within, or see tracks or other evidence that might give you some clues, but as far as actually seeing what's in there, you might as well be blind. Literally, creatures trying to see in that area are considered blinded per the condition according to the rules. You can't see and automatically fail any ability check that requires sight. Examples of circumstances that might heavily obscure an area are muddy water, heavy rain, thick foliage or dense fog, and the like. Seeing into heavily obscured areas is not difficult. It is impossible. Now that we understand obscurity in D&D, we can talk about light. Had to talk about that first because light actually uses the rules for obscurity. I've been sick, guys. You're going to have to bear with me. Bright light is the same as looking into an unobscured area. Creatures have no difficulty seeing other creatures or objects in an area of bright light. Areas that are outdoors during the daytime, or near sources of light such as lamps, lanterns, torches, fireplaces, or the effects of certain spells, can be seen without issue. Unless you have sunlight sensitivity, but that's a whole nother thing. Then there is dim light. Dim light means that while an area isn't dark, it isn't well lit either. Shadowed alleyways, or areas outside during dawn or dusk, or just spaces that are on the cusp between light and darkness, are all considered to be enjoying dim light. Dim light borrows the rules for a lightly obscured area. Creatures have disadvantage on their wisdom perception checks to see inside of that area, and their passive perceptions are considered to be reduced by 5 to do the same. Then there is darkness. Darkness is as detrimental in D&D as it is in real life. When you have no available source of light, you can't see anything. Anything. The same rules for trying to see in a heavily obscured area apply to trying to see in darkness. You are effectively, mechanically, blinded. That's it, guys. That's the Light and Obscurity video. These impediments are important things to consider not just from a mechanical perspective, but from a roleplay perspective as well. Narratively, if you are trying to accurately portray creatures who find themselves in these situations, especially in high-stakes situations involving low visibility, they're likely to be a little more nervous or a little more wary of entering situations that could cost them their lives when they can't see at their best. Now, some creatures, a lot of creatures actually, have special senses that allow them to interact with these visual mechanics in different ways. And we're going to be talking about them in next week's video. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and ring the little bell so that you know the moment that video goes up. And if talking about and understanding D&D mechanics a little bit better is your thing, be sure to check out our podcast, Bardic Twinspiration, wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And to see a little bit more of me, check out Misty Mountain Streaming on Twitch. Links to both of those in the description of this video. Until next time, farewell and Godspeed, friends and adventurers. Lightly obscured means that there is an inconvenient, but not prohibitive, amount of visual noise between you and whatever you're looking at. A thin mist, a light fog, steady rain, murky water? Murky water?